Harry, you were drafted in when you were 18. What was the environment like at the time?
Oh, I was on a little farm. And I didn't know much because I hadn't grown up yet.
And where did you go for basic training?
Fort Knox, Kentucky.
And what were some of your duties while there?
Oh, we just trained. They tried to train us how we would be doing in World War II. But they didn't do a very good job because that didn't pertain to the war. The war was altogether different than what they trained us for.
What were some of the differences?
Well, one thing, whenever I was in England, they trained recons different than they did the regular troops. Sometimes we might get an hour of sleep or no sleep at all. They'd take us out on the desert there in England, and they'd have road people out, and we were supposed to go get through that line back into camp without getting captured.
And for people that don't know what a recon is, those are the people on the front lines, right?
The recon is whenever they want to know what's up the next town or what. Well, we was out in front checking out. They didn't want to send a bunch of tanks and get them blowed up. The recons went out there to check them out and know where they're at.
Now, you spent about, 15 days on the boat to England. What was it like during that time?
Oh, seasick. We had a storm out about 2 days, and the waves was going over the bow of the boat. And some of the boys that was sitting on the outside, they didn't have room inside, and some of them had their bedroll and things on the deck, and it washed a lot of their bedrolls away.
And what happened once you got to England?
Well, we got to England in about midnight, and so they took us to a place where we was going to stay, and they had a big pile of straw out, and they give us a bed, well, whatever they had there, we filled those full of straw, and that's what we slept on.
Now, you also were part of the D-Day landing?
I wasn't on the D-Day.
Not D-Day?
See, the tank outfit couldn't land on D-Day because they had big storms there, and they had to get a breachhead. I landed a little in the latter part of June.
Describe that for me, if you will.
Well, whenever we was ready for D-Day, but that storm, it was terrible. Big waves and everything. We lost a lot of boys there. They drowned before they could get in on the shore. And whenever we got in there were dead bodies everywhere. They didn't have time to clean them up, Americans and Germans. Being a recon, I was out front all the time, seeing what was out there. We spearheaded the First Army.
You received a Purple Heart?
I received a Purple Heart with cluster, Bronze Star, and a lot of other medals.
Very prestigious medals.
Yeah.
What injuries, when did you sustain those injuries?
Oh, I was on night patrol in Stolberg, Germany, and they had a bunch of mortars, and they sent we was out there, and they sent up flares, and then the mortars come down, and I didn't duck in time, so I got hit in the eye.
Oh my gosh.
See that scar?
I do.
I got a big scar here on the arm. Here's a piece of shrapnel that's still in there. It went in here, it's worked up there, and the doctor says don't bother it if it don't bother you. If I hit it, it'll get sore. Then I had my feet frozen in the Battle of the Bulge, and my nose. I used to go as a red-nosed reindeer. I was Rudolph.
What was it like moving through the countries at that time?
Whenever we got in France, they had big hedgerows there. And they had openings. And if you got in the opening, the Germans just blowed you to pieces. And so they took and welded bulldozer blades on the front. They was like that, and they could take them tanks and they could shove a hole through that hedge, and while the Germans were over there, we could blow them to pieces. We didn't have to go to the openings.
You talked to me prior to us starting this interview about an incident on one of your Jeeps with your lieutenant. If you will, talk to me a little bit about that moment in time.
It happened December the 24th, the day before Christmas. I was down in a little town. We had roadblocks from St. Vith and Bastogne Main Road. We had tanks up there to cut the road. And Lieutenant, about daylight, he was a lieutenant and I was a sergeant, and he said, Reed, we got to go up and see about what that small arm's for. And it was below zero, and snow was about half knee deep, and Germans everywhere. And so he pulled rank on me. So I didn't get my choice. I wanted to walk up there. And we got about halfway up to the roadblock, and the Germans was laying on both sides of the road. They was shooting crossfire on us. They shot my old Jeep up. They hit the lieutenant in that jugular vein on his head, and he fell over in my lap and killed him outright. And I went blank.
How'd you get out of that situation?
Well, we just got past them a little bit, probably a couple of 100 yards. And then I tried the radio. I was sitting on the radio, and it wouldn't work. And I looked down, the bullet had went between my legs and tore the radio up. And the driver said, what are we going to do with the lieutenant? And I said, he's dead, there ain't nothing we can do with him. I said, we got to walk up to the roadblock. I'll back up a little bit. I burnt the .50 caliber up, and I had 2 Tommy guns laying there, and I fired them until I run out of ammunition. Within 1 or 2 minutes, it wasn't very long. And so whenever we walked up to the roadblock there, they wanted to take me to the hospital. I said, no, I'm not hurt. I'm just cold. So they got me some clothes, and then we didn't have no vehicle, no bedrolls, no nothing. So we hitched rides trying to find our outfit, and whenever we found our outfit, they they gave me another Jeep with a .50 caliber, and so they said, I told my driver, I said, let's go and see what happened to the other guys, because they never did show up. So the armored car and the tank, they'd bazookaed them and they'd burned up. The Jeep, they'd shot it all to pieces. And 14 of us. Me and the driver was the only ones that escaped.
You hinted at it earlier, and I want to know more about your division. So if you would just share with me really what your division did.
Let's see if I had that. Oh, there it is. This is what the 3rd Armored Division had to say about the things. The 3rd Armored Division won 5 battle stars: Normandy, Northern France, Ardennes, Rhineland, and Central Europe. And they had Ripley, believe it or not, on this to say about the 3rd Armored Division. First to fire a shell into Germany. First to breach the Siegfried Line. First to cross the German border since Napoleon. First to capture a German town. First to shoot down a plane from German soil. Greatest one-day advance in history of mobile warfare, 101 miles. We drove 101 miles in behind enemy lines. Because the name of the 3rd Armored and the 3rd Army are so similar, General Patton received a lot of publicity that really belonged to the 3rd Armored Division. History tells us that the 3rd Armored Division defeated the following units that were irrevocably the best the German division had to offer, so decisively, and in many cases more than once, that these units may be considered destroyed by the Spearhead Division. 6 Panzer Divisions, 2nd, 9th, 11th, 2nd SS, 9th SS, and 12th SS. 4 Infantry Divisions, 12th, 353rd, 363rd, and 563rd. 3 Parachute Division, the 3rd, 5th, and 6th. 1 Panzer Grenadier of the 3rd. We did not come out unscratched. The division had close to a 3-time turnover in dead and wounded. Major General Morris Rose was killed in battle, leading his troops in Germany. He was a great leader and admired by all his men. The esprit de corps that made this division great still exists today. Lieutenant General Lawton Collins said, "The 7th Corps of the U.S. First Army consisted of the 1st, 9th, and 3rd Armored Division were the elite corps of the entire U.S. Army. Killed in action was 2,214. Wounded in action was 451. 706 missing in action. Total of 10,371 out of 15,000.
What is it like for you to read that? You lived it. What is it like to hear all of the things that you guys accomplished?
Well, it was bad a while, but I got used to it.
Do you have any memorable moments?
Yeah, I'll think about it once in a while. There was 2 things that saved my life. God was number 1. 50 caliber machine gun was number 2.
Harry, you're a very brave and honorable man, and I appreciate you sharing your story with me. Is there anything else that you want to add?
Well, I wasn't brave, or I just done my job as I was supposed to done. I shot more Germans than you could count. I'll tell you one little thing. Whenever we drove 101 miles, it was about pretty near dark, and we heard a staff car coming. And so he come up there, and he jumps out. He was a colonel, and he jumps out and started speaking German. And I said, "Nichts verstehe." And he said, "Who are you?" I said, "We're Americans." He said, "You SOBs are supposed to be 100 miles back here. What are you doing up here?" I said, "We move very fast."